Hello and welcome to the Vent Sesh. We do this every Friday. I'm Jared Freed. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Welcome to the Vent Sesh. We bring on real people with real problems and we try to solve them. Listen, who am I to solve a problem? We're just going to talk them out and give a third party, unbiased opinion. And if you are watching this right now, do me a couple favors. Subscribe to the channel. Hit that subscribe button. We love a new subscriber because we're putting out stuff here pretty much every day of the week. And I want you to hit that bell that gives you an update anytime I go live. We're doing the Rose rehash after the Bachelorette. I'm doing full-length podcasts here and the Vent Sesh. So get yourself subscribed to the channel. Also, if you are watching today's show and you're like, I got a problem I want to talk about, send it in. jtrainpodcast@gmail.com. Title it Vent Sesh. We'll reach out to you. We'll get you all ready to go, and we'll bring you on, and we'll figure out your issues. So go to email your problem, jtrainpodcast@gmail.com. Title it Vent Sesh. Make sure to title it Vent Sesh. Today's episode, we got problems today, and we're gonna figure them out. Our first guest is dealing with eyes for the eye doctor. She's got a little crush on the eye doctor. We're going to figure out how we can play this one out. And our second guest has a marriage that's on the rocks, and she found a spark with someone new. So we're going to try and go through that. These are real problems, real people. Let's get to our first guest. Kristen, come on out.
Hello.
Hi, Kristen. How are you?
I am very good. How are you?
I'm doing okay. It's we're taping this. We're getting ready to go. I want to hear, where are you coming from? What do you do? What's your issue?
I am from central Pennsylvania, about an hour from Penn State.
We are. I'm a Penn State grad, so I know the area, enough that a college kid who was out there for 4 years would know it. And what do you do out there?
I am a therapist, so I work with a lot of people with a lot of different life issues. I particularly like working with couples and any type of relationship problems. So naturally, I'm here, for dating advice.
And you came here.
Yeah.
So this is, as a therapist, how hard is it to deal with your, who do you go to? I guess you come to me, J-Train on the Vent Sesh, but I'm saying it's got to be difficult because I would assume that people would assume of you that you can just fix any issue, right?
Yeah, you get a lot of that, but it's, kind of just the therapists are people too type of thing.
Totally.
So,
and this is all about getting outside of your own head, and let's create some reasonable solutions here. So tell us your issue. Let's hear about it.
Okay, so a little bit of background, not much here really, but I have been going to my eye doctor for a while now. I find him attractive. I enjoy talking to him during our appointments, and I feel like it's really easy conversation.
Is it now? Let me stop you for a second.
Mm-hmm.
You're single, I'm assuming, correct?
Yes.
Are you?
Yes.
How are you dating? What was your last dating situation? What is dating like for you?
Dating has been okay. My last serious relationship was a few years ago. I lived with somebody, moved out, took a break from dating, and then have been ever since, but it's just different situations. The ones that had potential, I moved or they moved, and then in between just, not really just good connections, not really clicking. So
I hear you. How are you meeting people usually?
I have done the dating apps, which have been okay, but not great, especially in a smaller area.
Yeah, knowing what I know about the center Pennsylvania region, like how does that, I would assume that people are far away from each other. I know you're not like far away from a major town, but the numbers go down in an area like that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's you see the same people over and over on the dating apps, and then you have to be willing to drive at least a little bit.
So you've been going to this eye doctor for a while, and you've had good
Mhm.
conversations, and it's like, okay, so now when's the last time you saw this doctor?
It actually was last year, but I have an appointment coming up, and
Okay.
I recently heard someone who is affiliated with the practice mention that the doctor there, being him, is single. So I thought, well, maybe this is an opportunity.
Here, well, it is an opportunity. I like it. I think I'm on board for it. I don't think, listen, the only thing you might lose is an eye doctor at this point.
Exactly.
Because, to me, whether you heard that they were single or not, that has nothing to do with whether you should pursue them and, give it a shot. This isn't, I'm not saying, try and break anyone up. I'm saying you don't know. You're saying I'm attracted. We've had good conversations. Why wouldn't we go on and again, these dating apps, and these are about finding a first date. So a lot of times we kind of get ahead of ourselves because we're like, we've ranked these meeting methods in different ways. We're like, oh, dating app, it's a one date thing. But meeting the eye doctor, whoa, this is a big event. It's not. It's the same as meeting someone on the dating app. So, and a little different where you don't know what their situation is on a dating app. There's the basically the understanding that I'm here to date or I'm here to meet people. So you don't know that. But I'm saying when you had the conversation with the person affiliated with the practice, how did it come up that he was single?
It was basically just mentioned, so it's a kind of a friend of a friend situation, and they actually joked around and they're like, "Oh, Kristen, he's single," and I just kind of, "Oh, haha." But really, I was like, "Oh,
Okay.
okay."
Where were you? You were at how did this come up? Because I want to make sure that we're not getting like sometimes there's people that are like, oh, they're trying to play matchmaker without being matchmaker at all. Did it feel like that, or did it just feel like off the cuff?
It felt like off the cuff. It didn't seem like it. So, and I didn't say much about it when they mentioned it. So, yeah.
The beauty of here's the thing. May it be off the cuff. The beauty of a loudmouth is that they're a loudmouth. So,
Yeah.
so in this situation, they work at the practice. If they have said it to you, they have said it to them. So if they have made mention to you, oh, he's single, if they're that type, then I'm sure they're doing something similar to him at the office. I'm sure there's gossip. I'm sure there's who have you been meeting? Who have you been talking to? Who do you have eyes on? A lot of puns, So I think you have this doctor's appointment coming up. When is it coming up?
Middle of next month. So it's a couple
Middle
weeks
of next
away.
month?
Yeah.
Okay. The dating pool must be, small in the center of Pennsylvania region. If we're a month out, we're like, okay, we got to prepare. Okay, so I kid, but so again, let's not get caught up. We're looking for one date. You want to go in there. How do you, is your question, how do you ask?
Yeah. My first question actually was, because it's kind of a two-part question. My first question was, is it weird or inappropriate to ask out your eye doctor? I know as a therapist, it absolutely no type of relationships outside of the therapy office, but
Sure. And
mhm.
I understand that because there's manipulation involved, I would assume,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah,
With the
yeah,
therapy,
absolutely.
oh, I know their deepest fears. I know how to play off of those. There's knowledge that you have that you're kind of taking advantage of. Yeah, I understand the therapy. An eye doctor, I don't see the Hippocratic oath. I don't see, the I can and again, you're risking an eye doctor.
Mhm.
And you might have to drive in the other direction than you would have drove this time. Like that's the only
Yeah,
difference to
yeah.
me. Um, but I think with asking anybody out or with giving anyone the opportunity you have to make it as comfortable for them to say no as possible. And I'm not saying that they don't want to go out with you. I'm always saying I give people the opportunity to pull on the rope, and if they don't, it won't change their life. So I make it incredibly easy on people. So first of all, the first question, no, there's no, I think you just have to be prepared to lose this doctor, as I said a couple times. But and then the second question is, how are we going to do this, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So I think here's what I would say about this situation. Let's look at it as you've already had great interactions. Because you have had does not mean you will have. I believe in that. So we can't just say, I need the date. You have to see how this interaction goes. You might misremember. Maybe you look back on it with rose-colored tinted glasses, and you're like, that was a good conversation. Then you come back and it's awkward. It's not right. The conversation isn't as good. So we have to be okay with that happening too. We have a process to go through. So the step one of the process is, let's go to this eye doctor and see if it's as comfortable as it was that first time.
Yeah.
That's number one. And it might not be, and that's okay. You might look at him and go, we have to own our taste, own our standard. You might look at him and go, this was awkward. He didn't, I didn't even, what was I thinking? He didn't, or, he doesn't even look like he used to look, or I thought he looked different. Like, let's allow that to be a possibility. But then we also want to allow you to have, let's say, okay, it goes great. You guys are having this banter. It's outside of eye conversations. You're talking about other stuff. You're talking about family, friends, what we did last weekend. I would let the conversation go there. How you been? What's been going on? You've been going out lately. How's your 2020 is the commonality that we all now have. Coronavirus. How have you been dealing with it? How's you all? So all these conversation starters are ways to so I would come prepared with, like, I want to ask him about coronavirus, how it's affected his business, how he's been, has he been able to go out at all? Has he seen family? Like, those are like 5 really good depthy conversations that can see if you are enjoying this interaction like you did before. Now, before you go, I want you to do this.
Okay.
Write your number down on a piece of paper. Okay? You write Kristen, number. You put it on a piece of paper, you put it in your pocket. This is before you get there. If the rat-tat-tat is the way you remember it, great. You're going to give them the piece of paper. On the way out, okay? The problem you have is the eye doctor, pause the clock for 2 seconds because I want to make sure we get to the end of this. The eye doctor might leave and leave you with a nurse. I've never been to an eye doctor, so I don't know what the process is. Sometimes the nurse comes in, checks you out. The eye doctor comes in like they're the main event, like they're the headliner, and then they leave, and then the nurse comes back and ends the show. So we have to be prepared for that happening. Okay? And so we want as little discomfort as possible. So it would be uncomfortable if the nurse comes back in and you're like, hey, I just want to give you my number. Midway through the conversation, at some point, you have to be ready, and I would rehearse these lines. Okay. Hey, it's been really nice seeing you again. Ha, 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 eyes. So now it's really nice seeing you again. If you're ever out looking to get a beer or something, I'd love to do that. We always have such a great conversation. Here's my number. And then you give it to him. Boom.
Okay.
And that's it. He either texts you or he doesn't. And if it doesn't happen, that's not on you. You don't know his situation. That's not a personal thing. I tend to think that most no's for dates are personal to the person and not about the other person. So I would say don't take it personally, but at the same time, hey, we'd love to get a beer sometime. I don't know what your situation is, but here's my number. And you just slip it to him, and he'll take it. He'll be kind of taken aback. He'll be like, oh, wow. And then you're gone. So you do it at the end of the appointment. If the appointment goes well, if you miss your opportunity, but you got to rehearse the line, because the hardest part is saying that line. So the line has to be, or somewhat close to, hey, it's always nice talking to you. I don't know if you'd ever want to get a beer sometime, but here's my number. I would love to get together sometime. There it is.
Okay.
And then if the nurse comes in before you get this out, here's what you do. You get
Okay.
done with the nurse, you say thank you, and you just say, hey, I just wanted to go talk to the doctor for 2 more seconds. I had a question for him. And then she directs you to where he is. And that might even be easier. Hey, I just had a couple questions for the doctor. I forgot one thing. Can you let me know? Can I go talk to him for 2 seconds where he is in the office? And that gets you back in. So you have a backup plan to the plan.
Hmm.
And
Okay.
I want you to send in the J Train podcast what happened after this.
Okay. I absolutely will.
There we go. Kristen, do you feel helped?
I I absolutely do. Yes.
Yeah. Is there anything else? Let me know
I'm
now.
nervous.
Okay, good. Thank you,
Yes.
Kristen, so much for coming on. This is fantastic.
All right. Thank you.
Look at that. We're helping real people with real problems. If you want your situation talked about, send it in. jtrainpodcast@gmail.com. That's jtrainpodcast@gmail.com. Title it Vent Sesh. That's the title. That's how we know to get through to you, and that's how we know to reach out. Also, subscribe to the channel. This YouTube channel, we got different shows, different things, different fun. Get subscribed to the YouTube channel. Let's bring on our next guest. Jenna, come on out. Hi, Jenna. How
Hello.
are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing okay. Now, Jenna, you're dealing with a a serious situation. This isn't dentists and eye doctors and flirtiness. This is real life stuff going on for you, right, Jenna?
It is real life stuff. We've got husbands, we've got other guys, we've got a messed up Jenna, we've got it all.
Well, you're not a messed up Jenna. We're gonna figure this out. So, tell me what's going on.
So essentially, uh, like I said, we've got two parties here. Well, three parties, including me, two parties. First of which, so my husband and I have been married for about 3 years now, and we dated previous to that around seven. The past 2 years we've been having your like, not necessarily run of the mill marriage issues because we've known each other for so long. So I think it's probably some deeper issues that were likely never resolved or or we're trying to resolve, since we've gotten married.
What do you
Some
mean
of
by?
those
I'm sorry to interrupt you,
Mhm.
but what do you mean by deeper? Because I would assume a lot of these issues feel whether you've dated a long time or not, they kind of come down to similar things. So what do you think is different here?
So it's not those surface level issues where it's like, oh well, I don't like the way that he throws his clothes all over the house or something like that.
Sure.
It's more so the way that we communicate with one another and the way that I think that he treats me and the way that he thinks that I treat him. And you don't really learn those things until you live one on one and start to face like real issues in life.
Have you seeked out relationship therapy, marriage therapy, all that type of stuff?
I've gone to therapy. We haven't taken the step to marriage counseling yet. He would be open to the idea of it, but he's not passionate about doing it, so I don't want to force him to go.
Okay. What do you mean by open but not passionate about it? Do you need him to like need I this to me that's a line in the sand of communication right there where it's like are we going nobody's excited to go to marriage counseling, I don't think,
Right.
right? Like
Right.
I don't think that's a day at the park.
He said that he would go if I wanted him to go, but he doesn't think that he wouldn't he doesn't want to go, but if I force him to go, he'll go.
Okay.
Is the bottom line.
not a
Yeah.
not a fun way to go into it. I understand why that would make you not want to go, but then it's like, yeah, I'll go to the doctor if you want me to go to the doctor, then you're not getting the medicine just because someone. So it's tough. I understand how hard that can be. So okay, so let's keep hearing more.
So yeah, so the issues have been going on for around 2 years. And so it's not really recent. It's I've been trying to work on them with him over this 2 year
Yeah.
period, but it's a give and take, right? And there's a little bit of an element aside from what's going on between the two of us. I think that he's vibing with someone at work. And it's
You
not
think
like
he is?
I think that he is. I've kind of witnessed it myself on a group situations where there's the teams hanging out, team took a trip or whatever, and I could see it, like a friend of mine could see it, that there are vibes going in both directions. I don't
Mhm.
think, I'm not saying that he did anything. I'm not, it's just further kind of makes you not confident in the marriage when you're seeing that right in front of your face.
I
Uh,
gotcha.
mhm. So that's kind of one component. The other component is this other guy, right? So um, a friend of mine, so earlier in the year, a friend of mine reached out to me and said, "Hey, I've got a friend. He's moving to the area. He's working at your company. Do you mind like going to coffee with him to, just like connect so he knows someone out there?" So I
Mhm.
said sure, and then one thing kind of led to another. We got coffee, and then we like coffee turned into drinks, and then because we were just having like a good time chatting, totally platonic. Conversation was really great. The drinks turned into like an all-night bender. He invited me to go out with his friends, and I said, the few friends that he had in the area, and I said sure, I'll come out. You know how this goes. Like, oh,
This
you
is the
know.
first night you met, the first day. You go from coffee, bringing him into town, and then it turns into this is.
So
Were you
it was
texting before this? Was there?
no, no. I think so. We had exchanged an introductory email, like pleasantries. And then I saw him at the office to just say hello, like, "Hey, welcome." And then he had suggested, let's go grab a coffee and like talk. And I said sure. And then that it kind of like spiraled into a like all day thing. And
Mhm.
the connection was pretty instant, and I wasn't really I didn't feel at the time that I was in a place where I'm like, oh, I'm really into this guy. It was, wow, I really like this person. He's going to
Sure.
make a great friend. Really, really easy to talk to. It was like we got one another immediately. I had never felt that way before with another person. It was like a lightning bolt kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then, you know, the end of that night kind of turned into, we were hammered by the end of the day. The end of the, we're drinking for like 7 hours or something ridiculous.
Hmm.
So by the end of the night, we were, talking about some whatever it is you talk about when you're blacked out. And he kissed me, and then we, were making out for a little bit, and I didn't stop it because I was like, this makes sense. So so I didn't stop it, but it didn't progress into anything else because we both eventually stopped it. We're like, oh, this is not right. We shouldn't do this. And then the same scenario happened again a few weeks later, but didn't happen again after that. It was just the two times. So I spoke to like
How long
I
ago was this?
earlier this year,
So
back
like
in September.
January, or is it
What
before
it was before? Oh
COVID?
yeah, before
Before
COVID. Yeah, this is when we were all
this
living normal lives. January,
and
February.
and then the second time is that like how is that brought up? Is that another coffee situation that turns into an all night thing, or is that more of a let's get together for drinks?
It was it was a group thing that we went out for drinks because after the first time we were like, this was just weird thing that happened. And we're just
Hmm.
gonna pretend like it didn't, and we're just gonna be friends because that's what makes sense in this situation.
Yeah.
So then we hung out with other like folks from work, and then it kind of progressed into the same situation. Like we just stayed out, but we were just the last one standing.
So then that happens, and do you guys what do you guys say? This is stupid. We can't do this, or
Yeah.
how does it go? What's the conversation after the second time?
So after the second time, it was the same thing. I think he was he was upset. He wasn't pressuring me or anything like that. I think he was kind of he was we both were upset and confused. And
Why
he
was
was
he? Why did he say he was upset?
because he felt, I think that he's upset from the guilt. I think he felt guilty, and at the same time, like I think he had or has, which we'll get the has, I guess we'll get to, like had feelings for me, and I think I had feelings for him. Like I think I still do.
Mm.
So it's kind of like you feel that internal guilt.
Now, after that happened, are you guys still talking? Are you talking at work? What happens when COVID hits? Like what goes down? Are you working from home? What goes down from
Yeah.
there?
So everyone's working from home. And we still talk. We're still call it friends.
Yeah.
So since so the thing is that I think that I'm still like in love with him. I think I fell in love with him. Um, or
How did
whatever.
you guys how did you come to the conclusion that you've fallen in love with him? Like and I
Maybe
don't
I
doubt
maybe that
that.
yeah, I don't know the right word. Maybe that's too
Sure.
dramatic. But it's more than just like I mean I've got feelings for the guy. I like this guy. And I'm just trying to shut that. I've been trying to just shut that down and like, you know what? We're just going to stay friends. He expressed that he wants to date other people. He needs to date other people. He wants to date other people. He can't. I'm not available. He's going to go do his thing. He's verbalized that and I was like, "Cool, we're going to be friends. It's going to be fine. Everything's going to be great." And then since COVID, like we've hung out a few times with just alone like during the day, like doing the whole eating outside type of thing, grabbing a drink in the sun, and also with other people like friends outside in parks and stuff.
Does your
Um,
husband know about this guy?
no,
Does he know you have a friend at work? Does he know him by name? He has
he
no
doesn't
idea that
know,
he exists.
he doesn't know him by name, but he doesn't know a lot of my friends at work by name.
Gotcha.
He knows
And
he
how
knows the close friends, but not all of them.
can we stop the clock, Brandon? Because we're not even like part of the way through this. I so where have you guys been? So where do you stand now? Like, what's the question now?
So now the question. So now this
So
other guy
I'm sorry
is
to
doing.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry to go back.
Mhm.
How have you guys talked about you and this other guy talked more
Mhm.
since about you two, or is it just where had did that happen? It was in the past and your friends, and he tells you about his dating stories, and then he's single, or is there talk of like, I wish you were not with your husband. I wish things were different. Do we have that type of talk going on, or is it just kind of water on the bridge, and now we're friends?
It's water under the bridge. Like we don't talk about me and him. That ship has sailed. There never
Mm,
really was even talk about me and him because he didn't have any intention of suggesting that I should leave my marriage for him at all.
of
He
course.
suggested that I should go figure my shit out.
Yeah.
And then made like he's like, you should figure your shit out, and I hope that you do that. And then if you decide that you want to leave your marriage, maybe I'll be here, maybe I won't, but like you need to go deal with that first. Um so but since and so we haven't like discussed anything between me and him, but also there are these like things that he does that are super confusing and I think it makes it harder for me to like it's confusing what he does. So that's
What does
kind
he
of what
do?
my question is mainly around interpreting what he's doing because I think that he's like messing. I don't know if he's messing with me, but some days it definitely feels like he's messing with me.
How so? What in what way?
So he doesn't like he does I know that he's been seeing someone probably since March or April. He doesn't mention her ever.
Mm,
Like he doesn't say when he has when he has when he has a date, he'll say, "Oh, I have a dinner." And he won't say who
hmm
it's with. He won't say it's a girl, like he won't nothing. Whenever we go for lunch or a drink or whatever, he'll always pay for me, which is
hmm
totally unnecessary. Um he gives me like things, like he gives me random things. Like I have the password to like his TV accounts. He just
Okay.
I mentioned how like he like suggested something I should watch and I was like, "Oh, I don't have that." And he just like gave me the password and doesn't care that I'm like
Yeah.
on his stuff. Um he he drives me home from like really long distances. So if I'm having a drink or something, I won't drive. So he'll drive me home when he lives like 45 minutes away from me. So he'll drive 20, 30 minutes in the opposite direction from wherever we met and then drive like 45, 50 minutes home.
How many? And you guys haven't hooked up at all since that second time.
No.
And you're going. How many times a week are you texting? Are you texting throughout the day with this person? Are you texting them every few days? What's the kind of communication level between you and this person?
We talk like a few times a week, not every day, maybe like
And
twice a week.
is it to make a plan to get together for lunch? Is it to what are the
No, because it's kind of to just, it's just kind of be like, some of it is planning to do things with friends, some of it is just like BSing about the election or whatever. Some of
Sure.
it's work related. Um,
When
it's
he
a mixed.
drives you home 45 minutes, what does your husband say? Does he ask who drove you back? Are you guys sleeping in the same bed? Like,
So yeah, so this status with my husband has been a little like here and there. Like there was a period of time where I like moved out for a few weeks just because I mean I think COVID is making everything like a lot worse than it really needs to be.
makes it
Um,
harder, yeah.
yeah, so I had moved out for a few weeks. Um, Maybe that was like 2 or 3 months ago, to a friend's house. But we're sleeping in the same bed. Sometimes I'm sleeping on the couch. It's like there are some weeks that are good and some weeks that are bad.
Yeah. I'm sorry this is all happening. I have some opinions that I listen. I'm not a professional. I'm just kind of hearing you out. You ask why he's doing these things. I do think this guy gets a a jolt of energy out of dealing with you because you are someone that gives him that he knows has attraction for him. He knows you enjoy his company. I'm sure the interactions with you two when you go and have a beer, when you hang out, I'm sure they're somewhat flirty. Even though they're friendly, it is, in that he knows you're attracted to him. So there is an ego, boost from you being around. And also, he knows that you can't really do anything about it. He always has the excuse. So he can kind of, and I don't know if he's doing this as knowingly as maybe I'm making it sound, but like he can come to you for a recharge anytime he wants while knowing he doesn't have to like buy you as the charger. So
Mhm.
the idea that he's like, that he's like paying for the drinks. To him, he's like, it doesn't matter. It's not gonna paying for the drinks doesn't is nothing to him because he's got out of this more than the drinks would cost him. He's gotten the boost and the attention from a woman and all that stuff. So it doesn't really surprise me the things that he's doing because there's so many barriers between you and him, between you becoming a responsibility for him. And I know that's bad, but again, like this isn't a one-way street. You are getting something out of him as well. And that's kind of the only thing we can deal with. Like I can't really tell him, I can't really speak to him right now. That's
Mhm.
not what this is about. You're going back to him because, and when you say you've fallen for him in whatever way you've fallen for him, to me, I think you've fallen for excitement and feeling happy. And it
Mhm.
feels like to me, when you talk about your relationship with your husband and him not being passionate about fixing it, like to me, you're finding passion in other places and you're finding excitement in other places that you're not like. Home sounds like it's under a cloud. You're moving out for 3 weeks, it's on the couch, in the bed. To me, it's sunny days versus rainy days. Like that's what it sounds like to me. And
Mhm.
I don't envy that situation. But again, when the guy says to you, we'll see what happens once you fix your shit, that's not someone who's going to be there when the dust clears. I
Mhm.
don't see him being. He's to him. You are not the one he's going to run away with. You're the one that's giving him something, and again, you're getting something out of him too. So it's tough to be like to make him this evil person because you're going to him for a charge too. Like when you said our beginning conversation about the passion and for going to a marriage counselor. That's just passion for your relationship. That's not about the marriage counselor. You're not looking to go to the marriage counselor because you're like, well, if he doesn't want to, what the fuck are we going to work on it for? Because maybe I'm the only one excited to go and to fix this. So again, these things right now, you're dealing with 7 different things at once. The guy you made out with, the guy, and seeing whether you guys could work out and your feelings for him. I think you got to work at one thing at a time. And I think the first thing you got to work on is the marriage. And it's like a decision on whether to keep it going or not. When you tell me that you've been married for 3 years but dated 7 before that, to me, that's a 10-year thing. And when someone says that to me, I always assume, and I don't mean to put this assumption on you, but when you say you could have just said we're married 3 years. Instead, you go, but we got 7 years before that. So now it's like, oh my God, it's an investment that I've already put this much money and time into. There's a name for it, like the lost time,
It's the sunk cost, I think.
Sunk cost theory. Yes, this is what it is. It's an economic phrase. Sunk cost dilemma. Where it's like, I've already put this. So when you say 3 years, but 7 years, now it's even when people want to tell me they've been single for a while, they'll go, well, I've been single for a decade. And it's like, you just want to let me know that there's more importance to your story. So I'm not saying you're wrong for that, but I'm saying it does feel like you're holding on to something because you're like, well, 7 years plus 3 years, and now we're here. But to me, I'm like, you're going elsewhere for excitement. So you either work on making the thing you have more exciting, or you leave it to find a better thing for you. And to me, you're going to this guy to avoid that conversation because, and I'm not here to like judge you about the kissing. I understand how that happens. That all makes sense to me. It makes less sense to move back into a house that you moved out of for 3 weeks because you didn't feel comfortable in the relationship. So it starts with this relationship. It might end, it might continue. But I wouldn't end it to do this to be with this other guy because I don't think he's up for that. So, like, to me, he's up for, we'll see what happens because he doesn't have any time invested in anything. He's just dude who made out twice and is going, yeah, she's cute and fun and we go hang out. We have a beer in the sun. Like his investment level in your thing isn't going to be, he hasn't put any investment because it has outs. He can always say, well, I'm still being single. And even when you end this thing, or if you do it all. So I think it starts with your husband and having a hard conversation of like, you either want to go to marriage counseling or you don't. And that has to be your choice. If you want to go, that means you want to work on the relationship and you say, I'm going, and the appointment's made for 4. You're either there or you're not. And if we go, I want you to be there to work on it, not because you think you have to. If you think you have to go, then maybe we're all just performing in this relationship. And I see what you're doing. When you said to me, like, he has a vibe with someone else at work, you don't have to do that. That's something. It's like, well, he's got his thing at work and I've got mine. It's not, that's not necessary because that's all other stuff. To me, there's the base of the problem that you're ignoring to look at all the other things that in the peripheral things. The base is, do I want to go to marriage counseling with him or not? If it's a no, then you guys aren't working on it. Then there's nothing to work on. It's time to talk about splitting up. If it's a yes, then there's maybe your excitement that you're missing. That's the excitement is getting it better.
Right.
That's
makes sense.
That's all. I feel bad. There's nothing. I wish I could tell you differently, but just from hearing the situation, like if I didn't want to go to the marriage counselor, then what are we doing? That's the next question. If you don't want to go to the marriage counselor and you don't want to fix this, then what are we doing? Are we going to do this for the next 10 years that we've already done this 10 years? And I know we have a lot of time backed up, but let's talk to each other as adults.
Right. Yeah, and I think that the vibes that I think he might be having with someone at work and all of that is not even, I don't consider any of that like rationalizing my indiscretion or anything like that. It's just kind of an additional like chink of like a little like all these little teensy things that are happening between the two of us that kind of add up to something like when the snowball like rolls up into the snowman, right? It's just
I would say I'm sorry to interrupt. I would say that you're seeing the excitement that you wish she was having with you. Because you said when we were out, my friend also saw it and I saw it. And it's like what you saw was excitement. What you saw was passion. And that's where you're going to the other guy for too. I think you're going to realize that maybe this other guy that at work is just a source of passion, not your person. And it's either you create that passion at home, or we get rid of we say, hey, we tried, but it's not working, and you find a new passion somewhere else.
makes sense.
Jenna, do you feel helped? I'm sorry. I want to hear back from you. I want to hear what's going on.
I do feel help. This totally makes sense.
I mean, but it's a step by step. The other stuff, his girl at work, your guy, that's all. That's 7 years. That's 7 steps down the road. The first step is you guys got to talk it out. It's either counseling or we don't work on it and we work on breaking up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's not like what I want to do though.
Listen, I don't want to diet and exercise. I get it. I want easier solutions, but this is the hardest. I mean, I feel for you because it is so hard. I get it. But Jenna, thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it. People, real problems. We talked them out. Again, not easy. Not easy to talk to your eye doctor about going on a date. Not easy to talk to your husband about whether we should, figure this out or not. But, that's why we're here. We're here to talk it out. If you have a situation, send it in to jtrainpodcast@gmail.com. Title it Vent Sesh. That's where we take them. That's where we do them. jtrainpodcast@gmail.com. Vent Sesh. And subscribe to the channel. We'll be back next week. Boom.